Hey guys, it's me, CTG Aria, founder of CoolTransGirl.com, and in case you are new here, I essentially create the content I wish I had access to earlier in my transition, revolving around health, wellness, and spirituality from the perspective of a trans woman. Yay! And before we get into today's topic, I feel like I do have to acknowledge the results of the election and having Trump as president for the second term, which I don't even understand how it's constitutional, but that's besides the point. I just wanted to say I understand the pain that a lot of you must be feeling right now, and I would just encourage you to try not to spiral into a pit of depression and anxiety. And I know that's easier said than done. I, of course, have my own anxieties about everything that's going on, but right now I'm really just trying to center and ground myself, because at the end of the day, trans women have always existed. We always will exist, and we're going to get through this as a community. So let's just take it day by day and not worry about the things that haven't happened yet. And I know that's easier said than done, but that's honestly something that's getting me through the election results. Now, the topic for today's episode is the bright side of rock bottom. So, what is rock bottom? Rock bottom is an idiom that describes the lowest point in someone's life, and usually it's when you feel hopeless and can be triggered by outside events out of your control, and rock bottom moments often lead to depression. So think of a financial hardship, a failed relationship, losing your job, not getting a promotion, losing insurance for your surgeries, family issues, loss, injury, betrayal, etc. All of these external factors, and even a combination of these, because honestly, when you hit rock bottom, it feels like everything kind of hits the fan at once. So the reason why these are rock bottom moments, or why we feel so depressed, is because these situations tend to contrast with our desires, with the life that we want to be living. And the greater contrast of your current reality versus the life that you want, the more despair that you feel. And also, if your hierarchy of needs, like the base level, safety, food, security, is compromised, then you're going to be in a pit of despair, because you need that foundation for your life in order to not be in a scarcity mindset. So hitting rock bottom, it's essentially the breaking point where you have to decide what needs to change and where to go from here. And so what triggers these rock bottom moments? If you are not content with your life, if you want a big change, if you've been waking up discontent, if you have decided to say yes to start pursuing the life that you want, and going after everything that your heart desires, and when you start letting go of things that no longer serve you. So because you have acknowledge that you want something more for yourself and you are no longer content with the current life that you are living in, everything has to go away in order for you to create something new, which is also called a tower moment. So in case you don't know, I feel like I've talked about this on probably like 3 episodes. I talk about tower moments all the time. So in the tarot deck, there is a card called the Tower card, and basically it's like this tower that's getting struck by a bolt of lightning. People are falling out of it. It's a very violent and kinetic card, and essentially the meaning of it is like destroying an old way of life in order for something new to take place. And these moments are very uncomfortable. They are not fun, because us as humans, we don't like change. Our evolution makes us want to be comfortable. And so when we are uncomfortable, that's when our mental health can kind of go out of whack, because we are now concerned about our survival and we are not able to anticipate what is coming up. We like to know, our brains like to know what is going to happen next. Otherwise, we're in like fight or flight. So everything familiar has to go away in order to build something new. And so with rock bottom, essentially like everything will start going bad at once, and it gets to a point where it's like, okay, how bad does it have to get in order for you to take control and to make change? Because with rock bottom, everybody's rock bottom looks different, and you can always go lower. You can always go lower. So for me, for example, I'm talking about this because I recently had like a rock bottom moment. I've been talking about it the last like 3 fucking episodes. Like, y'all know that I went through a breakup. I went through a pretty severe financial hardship, and I'm still recovering from that. I had family issues. I was also just like applying for a lot of jobs and trying to get freelance work, and was facing rejection after rejection. And it just felt like my entire life like fell apart. Like all of these crazy circumstances were happening at one time. And things just kept getting worse because I was not stepping into the person that I was supposed to be. I was attempting to be somebody else. And sometimes the universe, like I've said before, makes things so bad so that you have an opportunity to course correct. So now we're going to get into what the bright side of rock bottom is. And I put together 7 points of the positives of the situation. And if you are in a rock bottom right now, if you're in a rock bottom moment right now, you're probably like, shut the hell up. Like, this is the worst thing that could ever happen. But like, honestly, I read articles about rock bottom moments and listened to as many podcast episodes as possible, and they helped a little bit. But like, I'm hoping that this can kind of change your perspective a little bit, or give you some hope moving forward, because you need to have hope, or at least the knowledge to know that this won't last forever in order to get through your rock bottom moment. So the first bright side or positive of hitting your rock bottom moment is clarity. So because everything fell apart and now you know what you don't want, you have the opportunity to have clarity over what you do want. Because if you're moving through life without a specific goal, without a clear target to aim for, you're honestly like wasting your time, because you don't know where you're trying to go, and you're just kind of like dicking around without a plan. And if you don't have a plan, then you plan to fail. And so these moments of clarity make you question, what do you truly desire? What do I truly want out of life? And, you know, it can be as simple as like financial stability or getting surgeries. But I think it is you have to have like a mission in order to push forward, like something that is like your soul calling. And I'll make a separate episode on like how to find your calling. But yeah, this moment of clarity is going to put things in perspective for you, so that you can move forward with a legitimate goal. So number 2 of the bright side of rock bottom, reflection. So when you hit these rock bottom moments, it's almost like you have a bird's eye view of your life. Like you can kind of see like everything at once, and all of the choices that you have made that have led you to this point. So if you have not built a strong foundation for your life or for your sense of self, it is all going to come falling apart. And you are kind of like reevaluating, like, what choices have I made that have led me to this moment? And how can I avoid these choices or these mistakes that I've made in the past moving forward? But more importantly, how can I forgive myself for the choices that I have made? Because at the end of the day, like, you sitting there, like, yes, I think it's natural to feel like a little bit of shame. I don't think that you should like kill yourself over it, but like, you know, you should, if you're feeling like, ooh, like I shouldn't have done that, like that's a good thing, honestly, because now you're not going to make the same decisions moving forward. But I think it's important to acknowledge that, like, the choices that you made in the past, you were doing the best that you could at the time, and you didn't know any better, or you're not the same person that you were before. So I think it's really important just to like acknowledge that and forgive yourself, and just know that you are not going to do that moving forward, because these are the consequences of said actions. Okay, point number 3, reevaluation. So if you have said yes to pursuing something, the universe, God, whatever, is like kind of testing you. So basically they're asking, how bad do you want this? Are you willing to walk through fire to fulfill your life's purpose? Or are you actually not where you're supposed to be, and this actually isn't your purpose, and you need to take a step back and repeat some things in the cycle? What are you willing to give up? And when it comes to like making choices of giving something up in order to pursue a goal, this doesn't mean like selling your soul. This doesn't mean, desperately doing whatever you can in order to make something work. But as far as pursuing the life of your dreams and going after everything you want, there are sacrifices that you have to make along the way. So maybe you are not available to the same people anymore. Maybe you are not partying. You're taking a break from like alcohol or smoking weed. Like that's something that like has to go in order for you to start accomplishing your goals. So you kind of are reevaluating what your priorities are. Instead of prioritizing things that give you short-term happiness, you may start to be more committed to long-term happiness, because if you keep making decisions that lead to short-term happiness, like that is going to inevitably catch up with you. And when it does catch up with you, that's when you're hitting rock bottom, sister. So point number 4. Rock bottom is honestly a chance for you to restart. Like, I feel like it's the beginning of a new cycle, and you may think that you're at square one, and in some ways you are, but you're not. You're at square one, but you're not, because you have learned lessons. Hopefully you are able to take lessons from the last cycle that you went through, so that you do not have to repeat the cycle again. So in a lot of ways, that fresh start, that being at square one, is a blessing, because instead of looking at it as, look how far I've fallen, you can look at it as like, this is an opportunity for me to start over completely. And that fresh start, sorry, I don't know why I like want to cry about it, but like for me, for example, like I had to start over completely. Like I was not living a sustainable life. So I had kind of gone through this cycle before, when I first moved to New York, and like my life kind of fell apart, because New York, when you move here or just start over in a new city, like you have a lot of tests, because you're having to build a life for yourself from the ground up. And so when I got here, I, ended up getting a job I really didn't like, and I was really discontent with it. And instead of accepting my reality or finding something better, I kind of just like quit that job, got into sex work, and then that ended up not being sustainable in the long term. And what I really wanted to do was to create Cool Trans Girl, make content for trans women that I wish I had earlier in my transition, particularly when I was in that period of my life, because that was a very tough period of my life. But so this cycle, my life choices were not sustainable, and I was not content with it. And so my life had to fall apart all over again. And as painful as it was, I am very happy that I feel like I have my soul back. I feel like I belong to myself. Like I am able to start over completely. And there's like an innocence about that. Like And I think that's so beautiful that I can, and you can too, have the opportunity to start over and build something completely new with the knowledge of what to avoid moving forward. So a fresh start is honestly a blessing. Okay, 5. This one's a little, this is a blessing. It may not feel like it, but it is, I promise. So unhealed wounds are going to reveal themselves. When you're hitting rock bottom, you are dealing with so much crap that all of the shit that you have gone through in your life is going to bubble up to the surface. And like, you're going to remember a point of your life where you did not feel in control. And you might be remembering multiple parts of them all at once. So you may be thinking about like times in your childhood, or like traumatic memories from high school, or like when you had to, start over before in a different aspect and you just felt like very out of control of your life. And it brings up all of these emotions and all of these feelings, and you're almost able to like recognize the patterns and the choices that you have made. And you've when you hit these rock bottom moments, you've had enough time in your life where you're able to like recognize these cycles that you have repeated. And also, I am 27 and I'm just starting my Saturn return. So I think that is like a big part of it. If you're an astrology girl, if you're not, I'm sorry, but whatever. So you're at the beginning of a whole new cycle. Are you going to make the same choices, or are you going to handle this completely differently moving forward? Okay, 6. Relationships. You find out who your real friends are and who your real supporters are. So during these rock bottom moments, like, I think it's important to like lean on your community, like whether that's friends or family, etc. Like, you do need to be able to like vent to people freely. You do need to learn to like stand on your own feet. Like, you really can't be sucking other people's energy from them and hoping that they will like fix your problems. And like, I don't think that's the right thing to do. Like, you shouldn't be like calling your friend and like crying every day about how horrible your life is. Like, it's okay to vent, but you don't want to be like making it other people's problems. However, if you're going through a tough time and you're not able to like be there for others, and you can just like communicate that, the people that are closest to you in your life are going to understand. And like right now, I'm not really in a place where I'm able to be as good as a friend or as supportive as a friend as I would like to be. I'm trying, but like, I am in the middle of a rebuilding period of my life, and that takes precedence, unfortunately. As much as I would love to, go to events and like go to dinners and go drinking, I am not in a season of my life where I want to do that. So I've had to say no to a lot of plans. But my friends, my real friends, have been like completely understanding about it. Okay. And then the last point, number 7, and this is the most important, is that your rock bottom moments lead to transformation. And this transformation happens because you have like an ego death, right? So everything like goes to shit, and it's almost like the universe is holding a mirror up to you and going, yeah, bitch, this is you. This is where you are right now. These are all of the problems that you are refusing to face. And you almost have to look at yourself with like fresh eyes and just like accept that. Like, if you're used to portraying a certain like lifestyle on your social media, or, like, and you've been procrastinating taking care of certain aspects of your life, the universe is going to literally send you into a shitstorm. And in those moments where you feel like you have nothing, you are finally seeing your, not really like, I don't want to say the ugliest parts of yourself, but the rawest form of yourself, like the shadow parts of you. And so, if you have built a very weak foundation for your life, then that's going to come crumbling down and your ego is going to fall away with it. But the beautiful part of looking at yourself in the mirror is that you finally just kind of like, you see yourself in your most naked, in your most vulnerable form. And it's almost like you're looking at your child self, or the parts of you that you've neglected. And instead of hating yourself, this is really a great opportunity to practice radical self-acceptance and be like, wow, like I have been severely neglecting myself and neglecting my needs and not thinking about my future. And it's really just, it's great to just be compassionate and be like, okay, sis, like this is where we are. It's okay. We're starting over. And the thing with pain is, like, when you hit these rock bottom moments, you quite literally have two choices. You can let the pain destroy you. You can refuse to have an ego death and make poor choices. Or you can allow that pain to launch you into the next version of yourself. And pain is honestly the biggest catalyst of change, because when you hit rock bottom, you're like, okay, I never want to be here ever again. And so I'm going to do everything in my power moving forward to avoid this situation, because the pain of it was so uncomfortable. And in this pain that you are experiencing, that is what leads to you becoming an entirely new person. And when you have like this ego death, you're able to just like be a more compassionate human being towards others. Like, you know, maybe you think that you're better than other people in some ways, like subconsciously, and you have that death and you're like, okay, like I guess I'm really not shit, you know, not to say like you're not shit, but just to be like, okay, like, yeah, I'm a human being. I'm no better than anyone else. I'm also trying to hustle and just live my life. And, you know, so pain really is the greatest catalyst for change. So now that we've talked about rock bottom moments, I do want to briefly talk about like how to get through the season. So I would strongly encourage you to listen to my episode, Living with the Seasons of Your Life. Basically, I talk about how in our lives, we are in one of 4 seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. And these rock bottom moments are winters of our life. And in that episode, I talk about how, like, you just gotta, like, get through it. And I honestly think that that ego death and that self-acceptance of just, like, where you are at that point in time is how you get through it. You just have to focus on your survival and do what you have to do in order to get out of the situation. And that really just means sitting with yourself, reflecting, acknowledging the unhealed wounds, and recognizing what you need to do moving forward. And you really have to go through the do process. It's not like you can just like skip all these steps and be like, okay, like I'm going to be like an overnight success and I'm just going to pursue this career. Like you need to take the steps to build like a solid foundation for your life, so that way you're never at that point again. But, you know, like I said, and you know, like I always say, like the wheel of fortune is always turning. So we have good times in our life, we have bad times. And that's what makes life so beautiful, is that we have these like contrasting moments, because if everything was good all the time, like it would be boring, you know? Yeah, so if you are going through a rock bottom moment, I am sorry. It is not fun. It's it's very painful and it's hard to go through, but trust the process of it and trust that it is ultimately leading you into becoming a better person, and that you are strong and you are capable enough to get through it. And with that being said, I think that concludes today's episode. Also, a lot of you guys have been asking me about my Wednesday wellness newsletter that I used to send out, and then I had my rock bottom moment, and then everything kind of fell apart. However, Wednesday Wellness will be coming back next week. I will put my link tree in the description of this video. At the top of it, you should see newsletter, and you can put in your email so you can get on the email list, and then I'll send you an iconic quote, a weekly mantra, some words of affirmation, and something for you to think about once a week. And it's just a cute little pick-me-up throughout your day. So with that being said, I will see you guys next week. I'm still trying to figure out a consistent day for my podcast. Thank you for your patience with me. And thank you to all of my new followers on Instagram and TikTok. And also, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple. It really helps the podcast. It helps me grow as a content creator. But until next time, XOXO. Bye.